Right side, you can see a small hut is being constructed and some beams and, by the wood are used. I have counted 18 species are used for constructing that small hut. That means they have a choice. That means they are not taking only one plant. So 18 species means they are only taking lopping, not they are cutting down the entire tree. So that is the best way of sustainable management of forest resources or biodiversity or sustainable management of their environment. Okay. In this, quantitative ethnobotanical studies become very important in the present day context as it helps in sustainable management of resources that are used by the tribal community. Just now, that is what I said. You must be knowing because, as all students must be there, all this environmental conservation, biodiversity conservation all started around 1972 during the Stockholm Conference on Human Development. Our late Prime Minister Indira Gandhi made a very important point to the global community, saying that poverty is important. Unless we address poverty, we cannot conserve our resources and also protect our environment. Here you can see a very good ecosystem in which the Kondareddy tribals are living. This is the same tribal hamlet in East Godavari district. And why I am on, and from 1972 to 1992, the Rio Earth Summit took place in Brazil, where 3 important UN conventions were developed, came into existence. One was on Convention on Biodiversity. Second one was United Nations Framework Convention to combat climate change. And the third one is United Nations Convention to combat desertification. So from 72 to 92, so much things happened. And all the 192 countries who are members of United Nations, they signed that we will all abide by international community's obligations. These are all legally binding conventions we call. And after 10 years, 72, after 20 years, UN convention took place in Brazil. And exactly after 10 years in 2002, India became one of the few countries and first countries to have the Biological Diversity Act. The Biological Diversity Act is very important for conservation of these forest resources. And I think after that, we also have the Environmental Protection Act, under which we have the CRZ notification. These are all the important things for conservation of environment, without which, we cannot have a very good environment to live. These conventions are there. These notifications are there. But each and every citizen should take a oath that we protect the environment, and that is what there in our constitution also. Now, I think around 2014, we came up with, and during 2000, Millennium Development Goals came. That means how we should protect, that also says how we need to protect our environment. And again, I think 2014, Sustainable Development Goals came. Now you can see in this slide, SDG 3, good health. That means already the tribal communities are living in maintaining such an environment that they are having good health and well-being, and we should all learn from these tribal communities whom everybody calls primitive groups. Okay, I spoke about wild plants. This is Manilkara hexandra, and this is one of the edible fruits these tribal communities eat during the season. And this is I am also connecting the SDG 3 because as they have multiple choices, they have good health and they are contributing for good health and well-being.
We call it kirni at our place.
Okay.
It is kirni at our place, yes.
Buchanania lanzan is another species. The kernel is used. And this should be some there in the Central India also. And SDG 3, good health and well-being, they are also contributing for that. And this is an important one we call wild date palm. And Phoenix sylvestris, These fruits are edible, and a kind of toddy. Toddy is tapped from the tree, and the tribals drink toddy. The different types of toddies they drink: Borassus palm, phoenix, Maduka longifolia. Uh, this also contributes for good health and well-being, and also zero hunger, because this is one of the staple foods. They can also store it for a few days. They have lot of edible yams, Dioscorias. 5 species are there in Eastern Ghats: Dioscorea alata, Dioscorea bulbifera, Dioscorea oppositifolia, Dioscorea pentaphylla, and Dioscorea tomentosa. As they have multiple choices, they depend on more number of species. Their knowledge contributes for SDG 2, that is zero harm. And this is Terpulia urens. I think you must also be having this species one there in your place. This is also contributes for zero hunger.
It is called Kolu in our place.
Kolu. And Ficus racemosa, the fruits are edible, and a type of liquor is brewed out of these fruits. And Diosporidae melanoxylon should be available in your place. This is called BD leaves. The leaves are used in BD making, and fruits are edible. These fruits used to be breakfast for me when I was there in the tribal areas during that season. And Xylea xylocarpa, the seeds are roasted and eaten by the tribals. This is also, contributes to SDG 2. Of course, we spoke about wild edible, and now we come to traditional agricultural practices. One of the agricultural practices these tribal communities have is slash and burn cultivation, or jum cultivation in Northeast. There are 2 schools of thought. Now, one school says that, it is a very derogatory, or kind of, it leads to deforestation, and it is one of the negative things that is contributing for our drivers of deforestation. But what these tribals do is they slash burn so that ash is used as a fertilizer, and also they come back after those days, say 30-40 years ago. They used to come back after 30 years or 20 years. By the time, the entire forest would have come, and there won't be any soil erosion or something like that. But now, because of more what we can say increased population, and also using of hybrid varieties, they genuine basic notes, and over harvesting by commercial agents. That's one of the issues. There is also a threat because of over exploitation of seed material of a few species of bioresources, which results in non-recruitment. Unless seeds are there in the forest, they won't germinate and become trees. That is why while using seed material, everybody should be careful. Otherwise, this may lead to extinction of such species in the long run, causing ecological and economic stresses. On the other hand, the increased poverty of tribal and rural communities is creating an unprecedented pressure on the bioresources. Hence, the future management of plant biodiversity in the biodiversity-rich developing countries in South Asia will need to address the issues of poverty mitigation, as our late Prime Minister Indira Gandhi said in the Human Development Stockholm Summit in 1972, and at improving rural socio-economic conditions with sustainable development and better management of bioresources. Okay, so when we keep on discussing, but there should also be some suggestions from you as a roadmap and a way forward. So, given the prevailing situation, we need policy interventions for micro-level management of bioresources, for alleviating poverty and increased livelihood options. Okay, so what it should have policy interventions means they should include provisions for quantifying resources towards sustainable management of bioresources. This needs data on the following:
ecological and economic evaluation of NTFP resource of the state, national region. We should know how much we have, how many quintals of one particular plant is there. If it is soap net all over India, how many tons of soap net our country is producing? Then only we can have some kind of negotiation with the countries which need, so that also we can start exporting and we can take some money for conservation and some money for development. It continues. Status of NTFP in a given area, example, common or rare or endangered. This also should be there. Otherwise, if we don't know, we'll start over exploiting, and after some time, that particular species will become extinct. And for your information, each and every species is dependent on other species. Like for example, if you take banyan tree, it will have both obligatory and facultative host. Obligatory host means that particular bird can live only when banyan tree is there. If complete banyan trees are become extinct from our country, the birds which can live only on the banyan tree will also die. It is like this. I also always give an aircraft example. You would have seen everybody knows about the aircraft nowadays. That is planes, aeroplanes. Aeroplane has maybe thousands of screws, nuts and bolts. Every screw and every nut and every bolt is very important. If a particular bolt, gets lost, the entire plane will collapse. It will crash. Like that only ecosystem or environment. Each and every species is very important. If you lose one species, if one species becomes extinct, the obligatory host of that particular species also vanishes. Likewise, the data shows each and every plant is dependent on 50 other plants, or one plant, 50 species are dependent. You can see as we lose, how many species we will lose. So there is also need for quantitative resource assessment, that is dependence on the local communities. For example, if you take one, in rural area or tribal area, how many plants are there and what is the pressure on the each and every species by the tribals. Data on, that's what I said, in a given area. And policy guidelines we should have, otherwise conservation will not take place. Policy guidelines should also address mechanisms for regulated harvesting of bioresources and value addition. This is very important. Value addition means instead of selling raw materials, we can make a value into that. Like, if you have one small pot, and on that if you paint beautifully, instead of 5 rupees, you can sell it for 50 rupees. This is kind of training that should be given to tribals. For this, the existing institutions like Trifed Lands, Girijan Cooperative Corporation in Andhra Pradesh, which deal either as value-adding institution or cooperative mechanism towards influencing the livelihoods of rural and tribal communities, should be strengthened. That is what is required when we celebrate or observe days like International Forest Day, World Environment Day, International Biodiversity Day, or International Mangrove Day, whatever it is. The policy guidelines should be developed in consultation with local communities, that is tribal communities. If you have some guidelines how to protect forest without consulting those who are within the forest and they know better, this will become not effective, and should be included in work plans of respective forest departments or management plans of the wildlife parks also. There is a need for synergy among sectors and departments involved in conservation of resources and enhancement of livelihoods of tribals. For example, there should be very good interaction among Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, Ministry of Rural Development, Ministry of Tribal Welfare, Ministry of Science and Technology, and the concerned integrated tribal development agencies in many of the tribal dominated states, and social welfare departments of each and every rural states. states with much rural areas. I have 5 more slides. Roadmap and way forward. What is needed is a common strategy developed with tribal men and women, because women play a very important role in conservation of traditional crop varieties and also ensuring that nothing is wasted, and that will ensure conservation of biodiversity and tribal development harmonious to their culture and nature. That is very important, because their culture is more important. We have to look at their culture, study their culture, and take whatever examples we have to prepare guidelines or frameworks. We have, for all these things, we have Society of Ethnobotanists and, Indian Angiosperm Association for Angiosperm Taxonomies, Society of Botanists. They all needs to be proactive. In the sense, we should be contributing for policy making and decision taking. Conducting conferences, workshops, and seminars are very important. But at the same time, the recommendations should be very, very strong. And these recommendations should give some kind of a material for district collectors or secretaries or whoever to take to develop implementable projects and implementable guidelines. Otherwise, this will become simply paper tigers. You have, instead of having 2-3 workshops and 2-3 conferences, annually one or 1 in 2 years, 3 years, which should thoroughly study the subject and give some kind of strong recommendations for the central and state governments to take action, so that poverty is reduced, sustainable management is practiced, and ultimately environment is very clean, and we pass on this clean environment to our children and grandchildren. Information and data, and there is so much work done that is available in universities across India in the form of MPhil and PhDs. This data should be compiled, and each and every institute in a district or one institute per district should be, designated as a nodal institute for every state and union territory, so that that university or that college becomes the hub, and others often join there as a think tank and contribute their recommendations before the budget every year, so that these things can be included in the budget. Otherwise, without money, we can't do anything. My guru, Professor Swaminathan, always says, conversation without money is simply conservation without money is simply conversation. You can talk without money, nothing will happen. So unless we give these recommendations, timing is very important. Unless you give in time, you give it and say in, for example, June or July, nobody will remember. Unless you do give it in May, in February or January, that, will be there in the minds of the policy makers and decision takers and our people representatives. It's all about ethnobotany, which I have already discussed. So, having said all this, having listened all this, I would like to, look at this slide, all the students. Peoples, that means the tribal communities or people living in rural areas, whom we have chosen to consider members of less advanced societies, have consistently looked to the plant kingdom for the betterment of life. We are chemists, pharmacologists, botanists, zoologists, and whatnot, with so many and varied means at our disposal, not take a lesson from them. Yes, we have to take lessons from these people, so that only we can pass on this beautiful, biodiversity rich states to our children and grandchildren. Otherwise, if we don't react, the smiling faces of these tribals will vanish. So likewise, we will also have to lead a miserable life with a polluted environment. Thank you for this opportunity, and I hope This should have been some kind of enlightenment for the student. Thank you very much once again to Veenapani ji. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I again, I'm very much rather grateful to you for your this enlightening talk. The audience is heterogeneous, so those who are non-botanist, they are also they have also joined, and for them, I want to inform that some of the plant names they were taxonomic, as you have seen in one slide, that is Madhuka latifolia. We call it मधु महुआ, जिसको हम लोग महुआ बोलते हैं. यहाँ पे भी एक प्लांट था जो नीम की खिरनी निकलती है. खिरनी खिरनी एक अलग प्लांट है, नीम नहीं है. नीम की भी वैसी निकलती है जिसको हम निम्बोली बोलते हैं, उसको भी खाते हैं, उसके भी उपयोग हैं. इसी प्रकार मक्के की कुछ वैरायटीज सर ने बताई, कुछ मिलेट्स की वैरायटीज बताई. तो ये सब हमारे यहाँ भी होती हैं, लेकिन हम उनको अलग अलग नाम से पुकारते हैं. एक कुल्लू प्लांट था, है ना, सफेद बार्क होती है, हमारे यहाँ के भी फॉरेस्ट में मिलता है. ये कुछ ऐसे प्लांट सर ने बताए जिनसे हमारी जो लाइवलीहुड है वो जुड़ी हुई है, मतलब हमारा रहवास, हमारी सारी चीजें जुड़ी हुई हैं उनसे. कुछ को हम जैसे महुआ का जो वो पीते हैं, जो बोलते हैं कि लोकल लिकर ही बनाई जाती है, लेकिन अगर उसको सही रूप में लिया जाए तो बहुत एनर्जी देने वाला भी वो एक वेजिटेबल ड्रिंक हो सकता है, अगर हम उसको फर्मेंट नहीं करें तो. कई लोग महुआ देखिए बीन के रख लेते हैं. हमारे यहाँ जब फॉरेस्ट नहीं कटे थे, बड़े बड़े महुए के वृक्ष रोड साइड के आजू बाजू लगे रहते थे. रायपुर रोड में आप देखिए कितने महुए थे. लोग सुबह सुबह ग्रामीण महिलाएं उसको चुनते रहती थी और चुन के उसको सुखा के रख लेती थी. और उसके बाद जब ये हरछठ आपने सुना होगा, एक त्योहार जिसको यहाँ पे कमर छठ बोला जाता है, उसमें वो यूज किया जाता है. उसके बाद बहुत सारे लोग उसको उस समय के बाद, माने हरछठ जब अगस्त सितंबर निकल जाती है तो दूध के साथ डाल के पीते हैं ताकि एनर्जी मिले. तो ऐसी बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो यहाँ पे भी, जैसे सर ने अपने रिसर्च एरिया का बताया, आंध्र प्रदेश का पर्टिकुलरली और तमिलनाडु का, हमारे यहाँ भी ऐसी बहुत सारी नॉलेज है जिसको हम लोकल नॉलेज या ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज बोलते हैं. इंडिजिनस नॉलेज आजकल आईटी के नाम से ये बहुत मशहूर है, और इसको डॉक्यूमेंट करने का काम जरूरी है. चल भी रहा है, लेकिन छत्तीसगढ़ में थोड़ा सा कम है. तो जो बॉटनिस्ट हैं या एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट हैं या सोशोलॉजिस्ट हैं या फार्मेसी के लोग हैं, इन सबको दे शुड ज्वाइन हैंड्स टू वर्क टुगेदर. जब तक हम लोग साथ में काम नहीं करेंगे, जब तक कोलैबोरेटरी रिसर्च नहीं होगी, कोलैबोरेटरी वर्क नहीं होगा, जब तक वी कैन नॉट reach to a solid and impressive result, or you can say the inferences, हम उन निष्कर्षों पे नहीं पहुंच पाएंगे अगर हम अकेले करते रहेंगे. तो कोलैबोरेशन की नीड है, और ये अगर हम कर लें, और लोकल पीपल, जैसे हमारे यहाँ बहुत सारे वैद्य हैं जिनको हम लोग बैगा बोलते हैं, पर वो अपनी नॉलेज बताते नहीं है. जॉन्डिस ठीक कर देते हैं, हड्डी टूट जाती है उसको ठीक कर देते हैं. बॉटनिस्ट जानते होंगे साइसस क्वाड्रिएंगुलरिस जो है वाइटेसी का प्लांट है, जिसको हम लोग हड़जोड़ बोलते हैं, उससे हड्डी ठीक कर देते हैं. यहाँ आसपास के गांव में ही बहुत लोग हैं, लेकिन आप जाके अगर उनसे पूछिए कि हम आपके साथ रह जाएंगे, हमको आप थोड़ा तो बता दीजिए, अगर आप किसी को नहीं बताएंगे तो वो नॉलेज आपके साथ खत्म हो जाएगी. तो दे रेयरली एग्री, वो जानते नहीं, वो तैयार नहीं होते. तो there is a need to establish this kind of linkages, so that the mother science, that is the botany, is linked to various other aspects of science also, and there is a very likelihood that we can go to any extent. And second important thing which Professor Ravishankar was telling, that we must evolve to very concrete conclusions and recommendations, so that we can recommend after these kind of conferences or webinars or seminars or workshops to our policy makers, so that it is of some use. Otherwise हमने कर लिया सेमिनार, याद किया, खत्म कर दिया 2 दिन में, लोगों को सर्टिफिकेट्स मिल गए, डोंट टेक इट अदरवाइज प्लीज, है ना। तो दिस शुड नॉट बी ए सर्टिफिकेट टेकिंग जॉब और अटेंडिंग एंड गोइंग हियर एंड देयर. You should wash your brain. Rather आपके दिमाग में हलचल मचनी चाहिए कि हम अपने एंड पे क्या कर सकते हैं, और उन चीजों को फिर हम कैसे कोलैबोरेट करके एक दूसरे से जुड़ के साथ साथ चल के और हमारी पॉलिसी मेकर्स को रिकमेंड कर सकते हैं. यही आजकल शायद एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट्स का सबसे बड़ा एक उद्देश्य होना चाहिए. सर ने इस बात को बहुत ही अच्छे से बताया है, कब हमको प्रोजेक्ट्स डालने हैं, कब नहीं डालने हैं. उन्होंने बोला टाइमिंग इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड मनी इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. हम ही अगर सर्वे करना जाना चाहें तो हमको अगर मान लीजिए कोई फंडिंग नहीं होगी तो हम कहाँ से गाड़ी हायर करेंगे, हम कैसे चले जाएंगे, इंटीरियर इलाके हैं, है ना. कुछ लोकल लोगों को भी हमको जानना जरूरी है. तो ये सब चीजों के लिए मनी भी चाहिए, टाइम भी चाहिए, पैसा भी चाहिए. तो इसके लिए हमको फंडिंग एजेंसीज को भी कब कांटेक्ट करना है, इस पे भी सर ने बहुत अच्छा एक व्यू जो है वो बताया. हम लोग उनसे सीख सकते हैं और इस तरह से हम प्रोफेसर रविशंकर जैसे कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं हमारे नेशन के लिए, उस प्रकार भी हम कर सकते हैं. मेरे ख्याल में मुझे लगता है कि आज के दिन के लिए इससे अच्छा कोई टॉक मेरे ख्याल में नहीं हो सकता था. मुझे तो बहुत ही अच्छा लगा. If the participants they are having any questions, they are most welcome. I suppose I was seeing in the chat box some madam is raising her hand. I think it is Varsa. वर्षा मैडम आप कुछ पूछना चाहती हैं? जो लोग अपना रेज हैंड कर रहे थे वो दिख रहा था मुझे यहाँ. Feel free to ask. If you are unable to speak in English, please speak in Hindi, your language, even in Chhattisgarhi. I will translate. I will translate.
I can understand Hindi. I can respond in English.
Okay, no problem. No problem. It is good. Questions पूछ लीजिए. जो लोग रेज हैंड कर रहे थे अभी पूछिए आप.
Dr. Pandurangan wants to say something.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
हाँ.
Yeah, please.
बोलिए.
This is Rishabh Dev Pandey. This is Rishabh Dev Pandey from Chaitanya Science and Arts College. Sir, बहुत समय से after since long time we have been seeing, sir, the forest department has been cutting lots of trees on the name of coup katai. Then here is so many intellectuals and administrators. Why they can't say about this practice?
You mean they are going in for coup felling, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes. You see, what is happening is there are two types of plants each and every state forest department has. One is management plan and another is working plan. You know, our forests are, what is that called, concurrent subject. Both state government and the central government manage the forest because government is the national custodian of our natural resources. So generally for territorial areas, they develop 10-year working plan. And for another management plan is for wildlife sanctuaries and national parks. These people, they have classified forests based on the canopy. If it is thin area, canopy is less, they go for, plantations. Two types of plantations are there, and this is very important because this decade is UN decade on restoration.
Yes.
What we should be doing, and so far it has happened, but now there is a change. Those days, we used to go in for eucalyptus plantation and casuarina plantation, but now, as you said, there is so much of pressure from different intellectuals, and today also one activist passed away who used to be a very important. Yes. So things are changing, and sometimes it is very, 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 prominent in some places. That is why
Yes.
people become alarmed. Still, there are, some good practices are going on. That is why now we have multiple value tree species concept, and two concepts are there. One is artificial restoration or artificial regeneration, and another is assisted natural regeneration, ANR. So wherever there is a gap, we have to plant only the species that are used. They are local species, what are otherwise called friendly species. Plant population will also have, like us, they need friends, otherwise it won't survive. I agree with you, there is a need for change, but it is already taking place. That is why I said already there is a need for coordination and cooperation among different departments, like forest department and fisheries department as far as mangroves are concerned, and forest department and tribal welfare departments are tribal welfare ministry, so that they have to sit down, and when they go in for plantations, they should consult the local communities and take the suitable species. One, that is ecosystem value species, environmental friendly species, and species that are useful to the community. Otherwise, community will not have any interest. They will simply pluck it away and throw it away. This is what is happening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I think Dr. Pandurangan can add some points to this question.
Please, Pandurangan sir, please, you add. Unmute yourself. Pandurangan sir, you unmute yourself.
That I think Barsha Mohanty is, I think she is asking some question. Please, madam.
Varsha Mohanty, please ask. She's raising hand, but why she is not asking?
Probably, yeah. Okay, see, friends, we are very fortunate to have Dr. Ravishankar for today's celebration. In fact, for the World Environment Day, as he pointed out, how Yatna Botany is very important for the present day society, even to overcome the certain crisis. Because the primitive people have developed their relations with the local flora and fauna. It is a very great and it's a long exercise. They recognize when actually at the advent of the civilization starts, actually, when man started to recognize edible and non-edible, that taxonomy also starts. So they classified in a different way by trial and error. Probably so many precious lives also might have lost because of such an experiment, actually. But now we are getting such a fine-tuned information, which is actually locked up with the tribal communities, which is right now, though there is ministry has attempted for actually what you call it, documenting, still there are many good information still locked up with the various tribal communities across India, and this has to be documented and brought to the knowledge, and then analyze and then make use of our what you call the betterment of our life, whether it is what you call agriculture improvement, or whether it is what you call silvicultural, go for silvicultural improvement, or for others hunger-free nation, for empowering the food baskets. So these are all the informations actually lying in different communities. Now, as a job of our scientists to unlock these potentials actually, so that entire humankind, not restricted to even India, the entire humankind, the globe, can make use of it, such an information, to overcome the what you call the many, that is particularly our security, whether it is a food and nutritional security, or health security, or even environmental security. So everything is interconnected, and we are very fortunate that Dr. Ravishankar with his very elaborate presentations today, and also he has combined in such a way how finally this can be useful for even dealing with or even you can able to achieve the many provisions of the CBD. and CBD restoration, decades of restoration by the United Nations, and also we can able to how to overcome many of the solutions, nature solution. We can get solutions from the nature. That is what the primitive people standardized over a period of time. So it is very nice. There are much more informations, and also he has pointed about the importance of how they are living without over exploiting the available resources and keep them for the posterity. That is what we are talking about sustainable. Sustainable development is actually meeting the requirements of the present without compromising the welfare of future generations. That's what they are doing it. We should, as his last slide, this still we are having time to learn from them and adapt these practices so that everybody will make use of it and flourish, so that we can develop our environment friendly technologies, and we can conserve our planet a healthy place, not only for us but for our future generation. With these few words, I congratulate Dr. Ravishankar and Dr. Veenapani and the principal of the college. Thank you, sir, for joining for for almost an hour for this, and hope we look forward a great future for your college, and we are very happy to extend our help whatever way we could able to see share our experience with your students. Ultimately, it will be for the future. They are your students are the future pillars of our country, and we have to make them in a wise person so that we can able to get a good administrators, good scientists, and a good human resource managers for the future. So I thank you, Veenapani, for arranging this nice program, and we look forward in the future also for our cooperations. And I thank
so kind of you. Thank you, sir,
for this nice presentation, and all the audience. And you are any doubts, you are most welcome at any time. We are happy to help you all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for all blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I invite our principal, Dr. V.K. Gupta, to say a few words.
Thank you, Dr. Dubey. It was really an enlightening experience to hear about sustainability and ecological restoration from such a learned teacher. Very enlightening experience. Thank you very much, Professor Ravishankar. And you have told everything in such a wonderful manner. I am a student of zoology, but I have first times have gone in depth about ethnobotany. I think this was an holistic address how to handle the ecological restoration process and the conservation. And I'm really, on the behalf of Chaitanya College, I want to acknowledge the presence of great teachers, Professor Ravishankar and Dr. Panduranga, and so many others enlightened people who have joined us. And actually, this activity, it is just a wake-up call for us. Every year we are celebrating Environment Day, and this year we wanted that it is very urgent, and it is the prime responsibility of the educational institutions to bring awareness, to disseminate a message of awareness in society, in communities, and to involve more relevant people with this problem of ecological restoration and conservation to protect our nature and ecological system. So this was really wonderful. This is the international year for saving, for example, the plastics are there. Sustainability is the essence of the whole essence of nature. And plants are the best representative of showing the sustainability. And in the nature, we see there is no energy crisis. It is self-dependent, interdependent process. And Dr. Ravishankar has told us in such a wonderful way. And simultaneously, I must appreciate the recommendation he has pointed out. जो उन्होंने हमको recommendations बताए in such a simple way. Policy intervention, community involvement, involvement of local people, how to generate the proper ecosystem for ecological restoration and conservation in the now it has become generally I feel present day the condition is really alarming, and but in nature there is a cybernetics, and because nature is a very vast system, and there is a cybernetics of it, but man has a very important role to play at this moment because we are handling everything using technology. For example, as far as the plastic is concerned, इसके निर्माण से लेकर के इसकी प्रोसेसिंग और डिस्पोजल तक लेकर के हर स्टेज में पोल्यूशन है. इट इज नॉन बायोडिग्रेडेबल. मतलब अभी कुछ दिन पहले मैंने कुछ इमेजेस देखे तो माउंटेन एवरेस्ट के टॉप में भी प्लास्टिक्स के रिमेन्स हैं, है ना. मतलब एवरी प्रोसेस हैज सम वेस्ट प्रोडक्ट्स. और अगर हमको ह्यूमन जनरेशंस का फ्यूचर अर्थ के ऊपर इंश्योर करना है तो हमें सस्टेनेबल प्रोसेसेस की तरफ जाना होगा. हमारा सौभाग्य है कि हम एक ऐसी परंपरा से आते हैं, वी बिलोंग टू दैट ट्रेडिशन, जहाँ पर कि एनवायरमेंटल कंजर्वेशन हमको हर स्तर पर सिखाया जाता है. हमारे धर्म में, हमारे आचार व्यवहार में, हमारी शिक्षा में, हमारी वैदिक एजुकेशन में, हमारा जो ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज सिस्टम है, इट इज सो पावरफुल. वी आर ऑल्सो गोइंग टू हैव सम लेक्चर्स who will be documenting, who will be discussing the traditional knowledge about the conservation and so many things. ये बहुत ही अच्छा आपने सुंदर व्याख्यान दिया है और ये बहुत ही अच्छा प्रारंभ है. और मैं विशेष रूप से जो डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ बॉटनी है एंड कन्वेनर डॉक्टर मिसेस वीनापानी दुबे मैडम, जिनके माध्यम से ये आयोजन हुआ, एंड स्पेशली आवर इंस्टीट्यूशनल इनोवेशन काउंसिल और जिनके सम्मिलित सहयोग से ये कार्यक्रम का आयोजन हुआ, डॉक्टर नरेंद्र गुरिया जी, मैं उनको भी बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ. एंड सर, वी आर हैविंग ए इनोवेशन सेल and recently we have also developed a herbal garden in our campus and some local plants, herbal plants and some exotic species are there. More than 200 species are there, and we will separately interact with you to how to further do some extension work for that. And because we are seriously interested about conservation, our Vice-Chancellor, Professor Pateriya, is lover of nature. On the day he came for a brief visit, but he was greatly pleased to join our cycle rally organized by Department of NSS. And we are having lot of activities related to environmental conservation. Our NSS people and all the various academic departments, they are regularly organizing the activities related to environmental conservation, and the clean, green, sustainable is our policy. And with the help of our students, certainly we will take your message to society. So, and we are highly obliged for your blessings. And thank you very much. And सारे participants को प्रति बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ कि they will certainly going to have a great carry home message with them through this seminar, and let us learn from the great teachers who have joined us. Thank you very much, sir. So kind of you, sir. And personally, I invite you, sir, whenever possible. It will be a great honor for us if you sometimes have you can visit our campus and bless us.
I will invite
Thank you,
her,
sir.
definitely. I will invite
Yes,
both of
Honorable
them.
Sir, Ravishankar sir,
Sure.
please आप
Sure,
आइए.
sure.
And it is a
Really.
very rich area. We will take you to the places and we will seek your guidance, sir. Thank you very much.
Certain. Certain. Certain.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Dhanyavad,
Namaste.
madam.
Thank you.
Dhanyavad. Dhanyavad.
Once again, I extend my heartfelt thanks and gratitude towards the speakers, our principal and our chairman sir, and our VC sir, and all those participants who have joined in this webinar. And tomorrow's session will again start at 2 p.m. And the links for the competitions of the students, they have been shared in their groups. Please participate in those also. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sir, Principal
Thank
sir,
you.
सभी को.
should we complete it?
Yes, sir. Sir, बहुत आभार, sir.
Should we
बहुत,
finish?
yes, yes. Thank you very much. And thank you for
Okay, thank you.
joining. Thanks to all participants.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you
See
very
you tomorrow at 2 p.m.
Bye-bye.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Namaste. Okay, madam. Thank you very much.
जी
हाँ,
ठीक से हो गया कि नहीं सर?
हाँ, बहुत अच्छा, बहुत अच्छा.
जी
Very good speaker.
जी
A real button devoted to the cause.
जी जी
Real
ये लोग
teacher.
सब जुड़े हुए हैं, माने ये सब
Real
ग्रासरूट
teacher.
लेवल के, हाँ, रियल
Yes,
टीचर्स,
yes.
हाँ,
So this kind of interaction is required for the students.
जी सर,
And those who were not present, we can show the video to the students as well.
yes,
And if
हाँ,
any affiliated colleges they require, they can request our library. We will provide the videos of the. You can put in the box.
YouTube में डाले हुए हैं.
हाँ, YouTube में they are available on the